All right, welcome to Pass the Mic for Friday, October 18th, episode 49. This is, although it's not exactly one calendar year or 52 episodes, we are considering this our 1-year anniversary episode via Zoom. Mike Pihody here, joining me on the interweb, Mr. Michael Gervasi.
Till I collapse, I'm spilling these raps long as you feel them. To the day that I drop, you'll never say that I'm not killing them. Mike?
Ice-T.
Marshall Mathers.
Oh, local guy.
Newly inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Got to give a shout out, Eminem.
Excellent. Detroit guy. We are going to attempt a very special episode of Pass the Mic, and we are going to, as we always do, we're going to start off with our corrections or notes from last week. No mistakes, I don't think. No early Happy Thanksgivings or anything.
No.
Last week with our election episode, but I do want to just point out the my little hint at 80% turnout the election. Turnout for everything that happened in the waves and non-waves and everything, and the youth turnout. Even though it was very high, it still was not a very good. If you look at numbers, turnout was not very good.
No, it's not. It's not. It generally is not what we think it should be here. So that's But it was higher than I thought it was going to be. So that's
So I mean, it's getting better and younger. But the thing is, I think as things go along, people will. I don't know how I want to say it. I just think that younger voters will, if there are issues that attract them, they will vote. If there's not, they're not going to. Right. Whereas steady voters along those lines, it may not happen. In the TV ads, some people reached out and said, same sort of thing. TV ads are, it is what it is. So, so here's what's going on today, and we already have our first guest in the way.
We do.
We plugged our Zoom link. We have some people that couldn't make it. We are going to bring in guests, loyal listeners to Pass the Mic, and they are going to get a chance to tell us about their favorite teacher of all time. Okay. And they're going to get overrated, underrated, any topic they want. Okay. Before we do that, we had some of our most loyal fans, Elizabeth Pate, Chris Pate, both cannot be in attendance today, correct?
Correct.
Elizabeth,
yes.
And so, but they did reach out and text us, and I'll take care of Elizabeth, very loyal listener. And she just wants to give a shout out. She says the teachers in the Gibraltar School District community, our coworkers, go above and beyond to be members of the community, And she says that's outstanding. And she said she had good teachers growing up, but nothing like that people would go to after school events, things that they don't even have kids in. And I know that firsthand. I can say Pete Fogler did that for my daughters. Colleen Buscemi and some people went and watched the boys play basketball. Just really cool things that our people do here. So and you were going to take care of Chris? Yeah,
Chris. And you know what? I got to say, just on that note with Elizabeth, shout out to our man, Kyle Oliveira. He couldn't be here today. He has some band practice, but he, after school today, Mike, he had a bunch of students in his room. He did Indian Food Day, and it was great, man. And, I brought my daughters and my 6th grade daughter. I'm waiting for her, so I take her home. She loved the food. I introduced her to Indian food today. Wally, really, man, he's a treasure for this district, and that goes along with what Elizabeth is saying. But on that note, I wanted to Chris Pate. My favorite teacher was Mr. Waltz. He was his 8th grade social studies teacher, and he just simply gave Chris. I don't want to read this whole thing, but he didn't care about school or grades. It was Chris the person, and that was the most important thing to him. Or I'm sorry, Chris didn't care about school or grades, but Mr. Waltz did, and always expected more of Chris. They still keep in touch from time to time on Facebook, so I wanted to make sure Chris got his word in as well.
All right, excellent. So we got our first guest. Should I bring one in, or should I bring both these guys in? What do you think?
You know what? Let's bring them both in.
We're gonna bring. All right, you're making the call here. This is so we're bringing in Mr. Todd Bailey, brother to the great Max Bailey, and then the one, the only Ren Dawg Rene Perez. So here we go. We're hitting the admit button. All right, welcome to our first guests here on the 1-year anniversary of Mr. Todd Bailey, joining us from South Carolina, probably, right? Am I correct with that?
Yep, Greenville, South Carolina.
Greenville, South Carolina.
What's up, Todd?
And then
How are you guys?
Good. And a little closer to home from Lincoln Park, heading north of where we are, the Ren Dawg. Ren Dawg, you in here?
Hold
Rennie?
on, just a sec.
There we go. There we go.
There I am.
Dog.
What's
up,
the shirt?
gentlemen?
Rennie, what are you wearing there? Is that Robert Porsche?
No, it's the great Aiden Hutchinson.
Oh,
Looks like 91.
Or Tracy Scroggins.
Yeah, go blue.
All right. Well, welcome, gentlemen. You are the first two guests on the 1-year anniversary. You guys have both been mentioned quite often, so welcome. We appreciate our loyal listeners. Do you want to introduce? We'll start with Mr. Bailey. Do you want to introduce yourself and say a little bit about yourself, and we can go to the Ren Dawg, and then we'll hit you with our questions.
Yeah, I'm Todd Bailey. Most people probably know me as Mr. Bailey, Max Bailey's brother, Avon Bailey's brother-in-law, and their kids, Shannon and Erin. I'm their uncle. Born and raised in Redford, just like my brother. I now live in upstate South Carolina. I've been here 20 years now, but I do enjoy the podcast, like listening to you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, now Todd, I was going to say you definitely don't sound like a guy from Redford right now, but whatever.
I can turn it off and on whenever I need.
So I'm curious. So you all the rap songs you've known except for one, eh?
Yeah, I did not get the Coolio one. I had a feeling you were leaning towards Coolio, but that song, once I heard it, I kind of remember the beat, but yeah, it didn't jump out to me.
Okay.
I know this will come as a shocker, but when you guys hear the episode on Friday, I did not get today's correct either. So you guys were in the waiting room when we did that part. Rennie, the Ren Dawg, you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get to our questions.
Before we do that, I got one for Givo here.
All
I
right.
wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Oh, come on, man.
I had a girl who looked good.
What I would call her.
Wish
Which
I had a
Hadi,
method and a hat with a bag, 6'4" Impala.
Mike, do you know who that is?
I'm going to go 0 for 2 today. I have no clue.
Oh, no.
Kilo, right?
You got that right.
Todd, you knew that one.
Yep.
God, Mike, what were you guys listening to Gibraltar here, man?
Boys to men.
Boys.
All right, Ren Dawg, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd here that may or may not know you? I mean, I know that's hard to believe that people may not know the Ren Dawg.
I'm Rene Perez. I was born in Detroit, Michigan. I currently live in Lincoln Park. I was a former Carlson graduate, of course. And many of you that are listening and are watching right now, many of you know me as the Big Ren Dawg. I've had that nickname for a very long time. So, yeah, there you go. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be on the show with you gentlemen and those that are listening in right now.
All right. Excellent. Okay, so here's our question. So we'll keep going in the same order. So our question to you, Mr. Todd Bailey, who is your favorite teacher of all time through all your years of education, and why did that person stick out to you?
So my brother's going to be upset that I don't say him, but he was never a teacher of mine, thankfully. No, my favorite teacher was Anna Lopez. She was my Spanish teacher for 4 years at Thurston. And then my senior year, she was actually my AP English teacher as well. So I had her twice a day. She was kind of the first teacher who I think treated kids like almost equals. It wasn't necessarily that student is inferior to the teacher. So she was really the one who kind of opened my eyes to, this is what that profession can be, and this is how you connect with kids. She also kind of opened my eyes to, there's a big world out there. It's not just Redford and what's happening, in your little 2-mile radius that you live in as a kid. So yeah, I'd go with Miss Lopez. Last I heard, I think she's living in Northville, Michigan. I don't know. I hope she's still alive. If anybody listening knows of her whereabouts, tell her I said what's up.
Very good. Excellent. And the Ren Dawg, no pressure. You don't have to say anything about the two mics here. Who is your favorite teacher and why? Any time through your education? Because you weren't Gibraltar schools your whole career, right? You came in
no.
middle school.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was in Shoemate very briefly in 8th grade. Of course, Todd's brother Max didn't like me very much back in those early days.
I never had Rennie. Mike, did you have the Ren Dawg in class?
He was in student council with me. I don't remember. Were you a library student at any time, Rennie?
I was, yeah.
Yes, yeah, you were. Yes, you were. Yep.
Yep, you were stuck with me for quite some time, actually. 3 years to be exact. When it came to track and field and library research skills, all of it.
The coaching, I had the whole shebang. Yes. So who sticks out for you?
I had a couple choices here, but the one that really stood out for me was Miss Boucher, formerly Gundick, back in the day. I had her for English 9 and English 10, believe it or not, because if I'm not mistaken, I think I was the only class that had English 10 in those days. But I thought Miss Boucher, she did a pretty good job as a teacher, and I thought she was the main one that stood out for me pretty much. I actually saw her the last time I visited you guys at Carlson in 2019, of course, across from the library, of course. Well, she still has the room after all these years. And what was crazy about it, she had one of those. She had a picture that we took because I let her wear my varsity jersey for football back in the day, and I didn't know after all these years she still had the picture. For as long as it was. I was actually surprised. Yeah, I didn't even think of that at all. And I happened to run into her a couple months back at a wedding, and just pretty cool. So it was good getting to see her at a wedding we were all at, of course. So yeah, so I would go with Miss Boucher on that one.
Excellent teacher. I was her mentor teacher when she first was hired, and I still had some touch with the English classroom. So. All right, so very good, great answers. Miss Boucher is still working. She's still right across from the library, as you know, Ren Dawg. So here's what we decided to do. We were going back and forth with how we're going to do overrated, underrated.
Yeah.
So instead of just, we are going to let you do whatever you want, overrated, underrated, each of you. So and they don't even have to be connected. So this is your chance. Anything that we've done in the past, something you just have a tough a position on. We just need one thing that you think is overrated, one thing you think is underrated. Again, doesn't even have to be connected. We're not giving the topic. So Mr. Bailey, what to you is the most overrated thing out there in the world right now?
Yeah, so I thought about this. In honor of you guys, I'm going to keep this kind of educational still. So as far as things that kids are learning, overrated is state capitals. There's no reason a kid in South Carolina needs to know that Lansing is the capital of Michigan. You need to know Detroit. You need to know Los Angeles is in California. You don't need to know Sacramento is the capital.
Awesome.
Is that still a big deal? I wonder if that's, we'll have to check with like Mr. Bailey.
Yeah, right.
We'll have to check with
I'm sure Mr. Bailey will say it is, but it's not. I mean, can you guys name the capital of South Carolina?
Oh,
Charleston. Not Charleston. It's not Charleston. There you go. It is Columbia.
Columbia. Honestly, that was.
You were right. Yeah.
Hey, look who we got. I know we kind of had rules here, but can we let them in now?
We'll let them in. Rennie, as we're letting Max in, why don't you give us your overrated item?
This is really tough. I don't know.
Oh, come on, Rennie. There has to be one thing you think that's out there that's overrated.
I gotta say Michigan weather as a whole. That's why I'm gonna say it's overrated. There's one day where it'll be 70 degrees, and then another day it goes absolutely to the 30s, like what we have right now. So, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, we as a whole in Michigan, we have probably the most bipolar winter of them all.
I just found a quiet hallway.
I just find it to be completely overrated, basically.
Hey, Rennie, sorry Max interrupted you there. He apparently is new to Zoom and doesn't understand that if you talk, everybody can hear him.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's all right.
And Rennie, I'm right with you. I've ripped on this the Four Season people in the state of Michigan. It's an old bit. It's not a great. The Four Season stuff is ridiculous. It's not great. Michigan's great from about like mid-September to like late October, and then that's it. That's the only good.
I agree. Rennie, it was miserable walking outside today. This is I understand the snowbirds completely. This is Todd, good for you, man. I'm sure you're enjoying the sun and
Max, are you with us? Or are you still arguing with somebody in the hallway at the robotics competition?
Someone actually asked me where a restroom was. I said I was just in a quiet hallway.
Well, that's what happened. That's what happens when people walk into it and bump into administrators in places. They have all the answers. So right before you came on, we were just our two guests, the Ren Dawg and you may know the other guest as well, your brother. They were giving their overrated, and your brother said overrated. He kept it to education related and said the knowing and memorizing the 50 state capitals, I believe, in a way. So and he said that you may take offense to that maybe in some way.
I do not take offense to memorizing random things. But just general wealth of knowledge, though, it's good to know. But do you really need to know the capital of Oregon? I think it's good. It's always good to know things, but I'm not going to die on that hill.
All right, a line that we use often on the show. So
Your expression, yes.
Said that just for your benefit.
Do our two previous guests mind if we let Max get in his favorite teacher, and then he can be all caught up, and then we just go through, keep going?
Yeah,
I learned a long time ago. It's Max Bailey's world, and we're all just living in it.
All right, so Max,
couldn't be closer to the truth with that one. That's for sure.
So the Ren Dawg listed Miss Boucher. Your brother listed what was the name again? The Spanish teacher from
Lopez, Mrs. Lopez,
and his English teacher. We want to know what teacher stands out to you as your favorite of all time.
I guess my favorite of all time, probably just because I had her 2 years in a row. Her name was Mrs. Sarla. I was at Jefferson Elementary School in Redford, Michigan. I had her for fourth grade and again for fifth grade. And then she moved up to sixth grade and we were all excited. And for whatever reason, I got put in the other sixth grade class with about 4 other kids. So I just had her for those 2 years. I'm sure she's no longer around. Obviously, she was older when I had her back in the day, back in the mid 80s. So
did Mr. Bailey not make any waves about you having her?
What's that?
Did Mr. Bailey, Mr. Gary Bailey, that is, not make any waves about having her?
We got who we got. Like there was nothing to that. Like your teacher was your teacher.
Okay, all right.
And I think I had her in the fifth grade. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
That would have been.
I did know my brother would pick Miss Lopez.
Oh, you knew that was coming?
I don't know when you said that. I was like, yeah, that's probably his.
Well,
and I never had the Ren Dawg, so.
No.
Well, you ought to be grateful for that.
I do. Rennie, can I share my thoughts on the great Ren Dawg?
Well, I did share a little bit.
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting because you may not have heard this. So yeah, what do you got?
No, I didn't hear anything. I just hopped on, but here's my thoughts of Rennie. I remember when Rennie came in as an 8th grader, and I was a 7th grade teacher, so I didn't know him, but I heard of this Rennie guy, this new guy that moved in from Southwest Detroit, and he just came in and he was like trying to be hard and mean all the time, and I was like, who is this guy? And then by the time I got to know him as a high school kid, he had done the biggest turnaround maybe of any kid I'd ever seen.
Oh, cool.
So that's like when I think of Rennie, that's what I think of, how he just changed completely in 4 years when he first showed up in our school as a middle schooler till the guy he graduated as a high school. It's just a major success story for education. I think it just shows that, you always have the ability to change. You always have the ability to become something different.
So I wonder if Mrs. Boucher, how much of a hand she had in that. You probably don't even know, Rennie, how much of an impact, but I'm curious, how much her impact was on you turning it around that much.
And I did know too, he was with a much different group of guys at the high school than he was at the middle school.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, some of the group of friends that I'm with now, back then in high school, I'm still friends with now, which is hard to believe.
And Rennie did really turn around. By the time he got through his later years in high school, he's participating in athletics, student council member. Again, total 180 from his rough and tough days in 8th grade, shoving kids in lockers.
And also among one of Mike Pehote's favorite NCLs in the world, of course.
Yes.
What's an NCL, Mike? You want to explain that?
Well, the term that we'd throw around sometimes would be a no chance loser.
Oh, I thought you meant Norwegian Cruise Line.
Well, that's the cruise company, but I mean, but Rennie was not he was more of a cruiser, not a loser. So, all right. So Max Bailey, we're letting people overrated, underrated, anything they want. Your brother had the Capitals. The Ren Dawg had Michigan weather, which totally agree with. What do you got? Yeah. Anything you want that you find overrated?
I do agree with the 4 seasons. Like, you get them all in one day. Like, who cares? Like, the weather is what it is. But, I was actually thinking about this on the way in. I was giving a sneak preview of the topic. I was driving to robotics with my neighbor, who happens to be my daughter's robotics coach, and he just got back from Washington, D.C. And as you know, the 8th grade does this Washington, D.C. trip every year, and it's one of my favorite cities. I've probably been there 20 times maybe, and got me thinking about. He talked about going to the Washington Monument. Right away, I thought, that's really overrated. Like, of all the things in Washington, D.C., Washington Monument, you can see it from anywhere, and it's cool to look at, but going to the top of it, like, you're waiting in line an hour, hour and a half to get up to the top. A lot of times it's not even open. And again, like you say, overrated doesn't mean bad, but that's not the spots. You know, if you're only going to be able to go to a couple things, I would leave the Washington Monument off the list because there's such a better use of time in Washington to do other things.
Now, have you been to the top of it?
I have.
I contend that any of these things that are height attractions, I'm going to call it the Sears Tower because I grew up a few years in Chicago, but any of these things that are height attractions, Empire State Building, I don't get it. I don't get it. You ride an elevator up,
Tower.
pop. You go look. I've been to Paris a couple times. I don't even go up in the Eiffel Tower, right, Mike? I have no.
I sat
you
down.
ride you ride up in an elevator, and okay, you're up here in the sky for a little bit, then you come down. Some people
the
think
idea though you could say I was at the top, and that's
I was at the bottom.
Yeah, I get it. I agree. I didn't go up there either. So.
I think all those things. Back when I was in Chicago, I was always going up the Sears Tower, and now they do things you lay on the glass, and you're still just in a tall building. I mean, it is what it is, whatever. So I agree. All right,
overrated that, and then do I get to go with my underrated then?
Well, we're going to go through the cycle. We'll let unless you
It's
go
Max
run off.
Bailey's world.
Are we
We're just
Max,
living
you're
in it.
right. Todd, you
know
said
what,
this
Max?
right at the start. We don't want to keep you.
Whatever.
We don't want to keep you. We don't want to keep you from the robotics. So go ahead and go right back into the underrated, and we'll cycle. We'll be like a snake draft. We'll go right
snake,
back.
like a draft, right? First pick. Yes.
Exactly.
So sticking with my Washington D.C. again, one of my favorite spots, underrated, and I don't know how underrated any of these monuments or memorials are, but I would say FDR, the FDR Memorial, because it's divided into different sections, one for each of his terms as the president. There's a lot of cool water features that go with that. The location is really nice, and I do like it's right by the Martin Luther King, which is one of my favorite ones too. But it's just something that you can walk through. It's a little more interactive. I know when we go every spring, we take a group of kids. That's always some of their favorite photo ops, whether it's sitting next to the radio in his fireside chat piece, or if it's standing in the bread lines. I just think that Roosevelt Memorial is just one of the better spots, and it's not talked of as much as, you know, Washington or Lincoln, which are again, they're all amazing in their own right. But I just think overrated Washington, underrated Roosevelt.
I totally agree. Totally. And there's the one too. You can, like, he has his dog with him, right? Like you have the one. Yep. And you learn a lot by going through and seeing each stage. I totally agree.
And the quotations that go with it and right on the wall. I like that about the Martin Luther King one also.
All right. Excellent. Well, you can stick around for your brother and Rene's underrated, or if you have to go.
I think I got time. They're still getting set up in there in the robotics.
Still fair enough. All right, so we'll go, like we said, snake draft. Ren Dawg, what do you have for us? What is underrated? What do you got for us? I know in your back pocket you're a big fan of a certain Coney Island that you may think may be underrated. What do you got for us today?
Actually, I was actually thinking of a Coney Island, believe it or not. And since you've read my mind pretty good, Peyote, I'm impressed. There's this Coney Island I've been going to since I was a kid, and it is a popular spot in Southwest Detroit. It's called Dooley's Coney Island. It's best known for their conies, and they have some history there. They did a movie in there in 1987 called The Rosary Murders, which starred veteran actor Donald Sutherland. I know Peyote's familiar with him. And then also Jack White. He made a brief appearance in the movie and visited Dooley's the day of opening day of the Tigers back in April. And then also too, the late Anthony Bourdain also did a show in there one time, and he actually gave Dooley's props. And the inside of the place is still old school as can be. The only thing that's changed throughout the years, like let's say if you guys do watch The Rosary Murders, the sign is different in that movie compared to now. It is still open. It's still a good spot for Coney dogs, for any of you Coney dog lovers out there. So I highly suggest you check out Dooley's Coney Island. It's in my old neighborhood, Southwest Detroit. So I consider that underrated in my opinion, although I'm sure not many of you that are listening will probably go there anyway. But if you do, hopefully you let me know if you enjoy their Coney dogs or not. So there you have it.
Excellent. So you think like American and Lafayette, the two we always hear about, are the more overrated, and Dooley's is where you should go?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Ren Dawg. All right. Mr. Todd Bailey, what do you got for us underrated coming out of South Carolina?
Yeah, before I do that, for those of you who still live in the Detroit area, embrace your Coney Islands. as someone who can't get it.
Yeah.
My brother will tell you I'm up there a week. I probably hit 3 Coney Islands, Leo's, what's it, South Shore, Shoreside, whatever the one on
South
Greenland
Shore, yeah.
is. I think
Zorba's.
there's Zorba's up on Telegraph. I think, yeah.
So Todd,
You
is
guys
there
don't know
anything
how
else?
lucky you have it.
Anything
try
else you
Try to add Dooley's to your list next time you're up here.
Actually, Rennie, my dad used to work at Fort Wayne. He worked for the Corps of Engineers, and they had an office there. So he has been Dooley's quite a few times.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to know.
Hey, Todd, on that note, before you get to it, I'm just curious, is there any other places you hit when you're here that you can't get there?
Restaurant wise,
Yeah.
I mean, so I bring the family up, and they're all locals. So Buddies was a thing we tried to show them. I mean, for me, I'm all about the Coney dogs, and I know they get a little sick of that.
I've heard of like White Castle. Former relatives from Florida used to come. They couldn't get enough White Castle. They wanted to go every day.
Now we've got the Checkers down here.
Okay.
No, Checkers is Radley's. Crystal.
Checkers
I'm sorry, Crystal Burger, which is the southern version of White Castle.
Gotcha.
Tim Hortons was a big deal a couple years ago. They quickly realized that's just a donut shop, no different than Dunkin' or Krispy Kreme.
Gotcha.
Do you guys have
Non-restaurant
White
wise,
Castles
I
down
know.
there?
What's that, Ren Dawg?
Do you have White Castles down there in South Carolina?
We do not. If we do, at least I'm not aware of one. I think Ohio might be as south as they go.
Oh,
So once you hit Tennessee, though, you can find it's called Crystal Burger. It's the same thing.
I see.
You can buy them frozen in the grocery store, just like a White Castle. Yeah.
And then I know Todd. I used to have to take Verner's when I go down, and the other thing is Better Made chips.
Burners and Better Made chips. Yep.
Okay.
In fact, I've got kids looking at me right now saying, "Oh yeah, next time someone comes, or the next time we're up there."
Can't go wrong with burners.
No. And we can get it down here in the 2 liters only, but the cans, it's got to be in a can for whatever reason.
It's it's interesting, Rennie, you say that too, because somebody in my class today, a kid said, "I don't like Verner's," and another kid said, "You're not my friend anymore." Just
Oh, no.
All right, so Todd, what do we have for your underrated then here?
Yeah, underrated. So sticking with the education and the geography, underrated is knowing all 50 states and being able to identify them. I am shocked and appalled at the number of people who I work with in an engineering department who can only name like 20 of the states and pick them out on a map. We have students at Clemson who don't know what state is directly north of South Carolina. So I don't know what that says about our youth, but you don't need to know the capital, but you should at least know all the states and how to find them on a map.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think there's as much map usage nowadays, like
no.
because everyone just has it right in their phone, and so they don't the actual map. I remember when in the library, Joanne, I got rid of all my atlases, and she got all upset, and I'm like, well, it's really they're first of all they get outdated quickly, especially world atlases, and then they're just not user friendly compared to what you can pull up instantly. So.
You guys will be
and
happy
coming
to
off
know.
all the election coverage. I mean, pictures of different states constantly popping up, and then you get people going, "Well, what state is that?" And yeah, sad. It's sad.
You guys will be happy to know my 6th grade geography class that I've never taught before. We're currently in the unit on the United States, and that's one of the things that we're doing this second quarter. They have to be able to recognize the 50 states. We spend 5 minutes a day doing this little map app that's on their Chromebook, and then we spend time working with that. So they're supposed to know all 50 states this quarter. That's their big thing, their big push. So we're trying to make it happen just for the listeners that pass the mic.
Well, excellent. See, there we're addressing that. So, well, we want to thank you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedules for popping in and joining us as our first round of guests here today. Maybe our only round of guests. We don't know. I don't see anyone else in the waiting room. So, we thank you. We thank you. Great answers to our questions, and keep listening. We appreciate you guys listening. Is there anything you want to send us off with before you head out?
Any hot mics?
Yeah.
I want to give a few shout outs to a few of my fellow friends that listen in every week. One, of course, from Chicago, the Canadian boy, Nick Gagne. He listens in every week. He actually called me on Sunday, was appalled that you guys called me out on Sunday to join here tonight. And here I am. So I'm giving Nick and his fiance, Michelle, a shout out. So give a shout out to you guys. I also want to give a shout out to Jesse and Brandon Knotts, who of course are in the track and field record books. They still hold the record, if I'm not mistaken, for the 4x4 relay. If I'm not mistaken, Peyote.
I think it's the 4x8.
4x8. 4x8.
4x8. That's what I meant.
Who was that distance coach of that group?
I believe that was you, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And then one more thing before I get off here. Lions are going to beat the Giants this Sunday. And then on my birthday next weekend, Michigan will beat Ohio State for the second straight year.
That you heard it there from the Ren Dawg. We do not provide gambling advice, but the Ren Dawg has spoken.
Family friendly.
Family friendly.
And I want to say too, I know this will be airing on Friday. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving for everyone that'll be listening in. And so I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving.
All right, thanks, Ren.
Good to know we're still wishing people happy Thanksgivings. I was wishing that a couple of weeks ago.
There we go.
Rennie's right on time with his, though. I was a little early.
All right. Well, thanks for having us. I do hear the robotics thing is finally starting. I hear the sirens at the end.
All right. Well, enjoy. Don't argue with the officials.
Thanks for
I will
joining us,
not.
Max.
Thank you, guys.
Quick question for Gervasi.
Yeah.
I believe after the Lions beat the Redskins, you guaranteed the playoffs. Are you backing off of that statement yet?
So, Todd, first off, I don't know who you're talking about. But I backed off of that. In fact, I backed off of that.
You declared it in public, so you got to back off it in public.
But didn't I back off of it on the show? Haven't I buried them, or no, not officially? Well, you know what? 2 weeks ago, I said I was Lions free. I'm like, I haven't been. I've watched, but I think since that burial, they've done much better, and I'm going to keep just saying I'm Lions free and hope that this winning continues. So hopefully Ren Dawg is correct.
I hope so too. I don't know if they'll be Buffalo on Thanksgiving, but they sure have a chance here against the Giants on Sunday.
And when the Giants beat them, everyone will be back to the same old Lions and giving up hope again. That's how quickly it turns, quicker than the Michigan weather.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's what we're basically known for, pretty much.
Leave it to Max to be a buzzkill.
Yeah.
I was tying it back into Rennie's overrated.
All right. Well, hey guys, thank you very much for joining us. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll
wait. Todd, did you want to give a hot mic, or was that
no? My hot mic was really just calling you out for that Lions.
Okay. All right. Wait.
All right. Well, excellent. Thank you very much, guys. We will see you, and we look forward to listening. Everyone listening to Friday.
Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, guys.
We got another one. A former guest.
I think this might be where we're waiting. This is like the grand reveal.
Man, this is taking
the hamster's running. The hamster's running in the wheel. Here we go. We got an audio connection.
This is dead air.
Yeah, this is not good for business. I might have to do some editing here. Who's our guest here?
Boom, baby! Boom, baby! Wait, let me get the access. Let's go.
There he is.
Yes, sir.
One of our first in studio guests. Because remember, we went back to back. I think we went back to back weeks because you made your big announcement that you were leaving the substitute profession.
I did.
And now you're like health teacher of the year. Don't let Miss Earl hear that. We don't want to like cause any problems. But
teacher of the month, my very first month.
First month.
Oh, look at this guy.
Jeez, I mean, it's like a Barry Sanders rookie year, and this came right out and dominated.
Rookie of the year, yeah. I miss you guys. I will say I do miss you guys. but it's good. It's good to see you guys after a while. So, yep.
Well, we're very appreciative of you just joined us. You just missed Mr. Bailey, the Mr. Bailey, his brother, Mr. Bailey from South Carolina with a little
I didn't
Southern
know
draw.
Didn't know there's
Yeah.
no
And the world famous Ren Dawg. The Ren Dawg was in the house
Oh.
prior. So you have some you
big
got some big
names.
shoes. Yes,
Yeah.
some big names on this guest episode. So here's what we got for you. Same questions we gave to the other people. So this education topic this week is, who is your favorite? What teacher stands out to you from all your years of education? Who's that one teacher that stands out to you as your favorite teacher? It doesn't have to be like earlier we had an earlier episode. I was talking to Mr. Gervais Mike about this, where we said like who inspired us to really get into education. We modeled her. I'm talking about like that person that bam, this was like just my favorite teacher. I loved going into this.
I couldn't give you one. I'll give you a couple. And that starts all the way from like elementary school.
All right.
Most of my elementary school teachers were really good, and I can still like talk to them about things. So I want to give a shout out to Mr. Stanton and Mr. Bauman first. Okay, so this is Weiss Elementary.
Weiss.
We have 4th grade. I want to give them a big shout out because this was the first time I had like 2 male teachers at one point. So like this was a really cool thing for me. And we used to like have extra recesses and play basketball with our teachers. And they were super young at the time too. They're not old, but I'm just saying at that time, they just started teaching. It was really cool to have both of them. Even earlier than that, kindergarten days, like Bongiorno, she paved the way. I always tell her like she paved the way, and she's been doing it for a while. And all these kids, they talk about her because she's been doing it now. Her daughter is a senior now, I think, which is like really cool to see. Steinmetz, she was a big one. She was always like cool but strict. So at a young age, I was like, okay, this person's cool, but she's very strict. So you gotta like work with her, and like that was super cool. Middle school, I didn't have Mr. Bailey. My brother did. I didn't, but he was a nice guy for sure. And then high school, obviously, there's a group of teachers for sure I can say that I look up to and that are like mentors to me. 2 of them being on this call right now. I don't know who this third person is.
It's my friend.
What's going on? So yeah. And then it'll take a minute to name, but for sure, Warren, K-Dubs, my man, AP Literature. He gave a speech at the end of, senior year to where it kind of like changed my perspective on like how I viewed like the smallest little things. P.O.D., I appreciate him because, I just always stop by. I didn't have his class, but, he was always there for me, student council wise and just talking to. And then, of course, Jivo, my man. What can I say about him? There's too much to say. And then, there's a lot more I can name that, Sam's, LeBron, like I could go down the list, and, these people are so nice. They helped me throughout the way. And that kind of like paved the way for me to become a teacher. I was a substitute almost like 2 years ago. I started subbing 2 or 3 years now. So I was doing the subbing, then I was building sub at Carlson, and then I transitioned over to a permanent teacher. I'm at Taylor Prep now, so it's really nice there. Just working to make the school a better place, and you guys really like showcase what it's like to be a good teacher. So I really appreciate all the work you guys put in and showed me. Yeah.
All right, excellent. Mike, do you want to introduce our next guest? And
this is my man Sean. Sean listens quite frequently. Sean, I'll let him kind of run the show from here in terms of like what he does and all that stuff. But he's been in the education field a long time. I went to high school with him. Rene mentioned that he's still friends with a lot of guys from high school. I actually am too, and I'm obviously much older than Rene. Sean and I have remained very, very close. So Sean, you want to introduce yourself a little bit and kind of go from there?
Yeah. So first, I just want to say congrats to both you and Peyote for 1 year of doing this. I mean, when you started, I imagine you wouldn't think they'd be into it 1 year and have your loyal listeners. I do listen every week. I try to get into it and listen every week, and I do appreciate the education aspect that you guys bring to it. Just a little bit of background about me. I work for Detroit Public Schools Community District. I work in the World Language Department. I'm not in the classroom at the moment. I've been in a position which I support teachers with curriculum and coaching for roughly about the last year and a few months.
So Hadi, let me close that for you. We have 2 people here who have lost touch with the classroom.
I see.
Yeah, and I do want to say congrats to you for going into education. And I just heard what you said about about the influence that Michael and Peyote had on you as a student and how it influenced you to become a teacher. And we need a lot of people going into education today. So for young people to make those choices, that's awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And I don't want to lie, like what Michael just said, I tell this to my teachers often that I work with. Like, I've been out of the classroom 14 months and you lose connection to what it's like to be a classroom teacher. So that is absolutely true. So a lot of administrators don't admit that, but that is 100% factual.
That was
so
that was a dig at Mike. That was not meant to be.
Oh.
Go on.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, I just have a few minutes here. I'm in the process of cooking, so I just want to call in and congrats you both for the year. I love the shows. I wanted to say one of my favorite shows was when you had Mr. Walavera. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that his?
Yep, Kyle.
Who did a show, and I loved his aspect. As a language teacher, all the things that he added about travel and things that he liked to do, and how it's important to be a language teacher. I thought was very powerful, and I really enjoyed that episode. I think you guys should have him on a few more times. I think he had a good message to share.
Excellent. We will definitely keep in mind. He's a great guest. So
Yeah.
Sean, man, I got a question for you. What's cooking? Let's see it. Let's see what you're cooking.
Oh, what am I cooking?
We're foodies out here, man. We're big on.
I don't know if you guys can see it, but I have 2 steaks here in the
Okay.
oven. Yeah, I like to sear them on the stove, and then I have them there in the oven. So those will be done in a few minutes. So I gotta let you guys go.
all right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate the kind words, and we'll definitely get Kyle back on and enjoy those steaks.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, Sean. All
right. Hadi, that's going to bring us now to you. Overrated, underrated, whatever you want. Wide open. Anything. There's no limit to this. Back when you were on the episode, we had it limited. The world is yours right now.
What have the previous people talked about?
Let's see. The Ren Dawg. The Ren Dawg had overrated the Michigan weather, the 4 seasons bit, which we all know that is overrated. The underrated was Dooley's Coney Island down in Southwest, which I think most people will agree with both of those. Mr. Bailey, South Carolina version, had the people having to learn the capitals being overrated, the state capitals,
But
which I
learning
agree
the
with
states
too.
was underrated.
But not knowing geographically the states,
so
underrated.
Yes.
And then Max did his with Washington D.C. Washington Monument, overrated. Agree. The FDR Memorial, underrated. So again, a wide range. You don't feel like you have to follow any of those.
Did you guys give any this time?
We're not doing overrated, underrated this week. This is your guys' show. This is your show.
Whew. You know what? I'll say this. I think, growing up, video games was a big aspect of just like being in the 2000s and like, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, we got to play online and stuff. So that was like a new thing. But I would say gaming nowadays is overrated in my opinion. I just spent like $700-800 on like PlayStation 5 and then TV as well. So I spent a decent amount of money for that stuff, 4K, you can play games and stuff, which is nice. And I do appreciate like the social aspect of it. And all my friends have it now. So it's good, but just gaming in general is not the same. I think the best time for gaming was like between when you guys started playing games and when like I'm like currently. So like that middle part was probably the best time for gaming. I think gaming is turning into an overrated thing. We're spending too much money on games that we don't play long enough, and stories nowadays aren't as good as they used to be. So gaming, video games. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What do you got for underrated?
You got me thinking. What else? So we had cities.
Well, while you're thinking of that, I'm going to bring in another guest. Are you all right with that?
Go for it. Yeah. No, I'll think.
All right. So we are bringing in Carlson great, Ann Hajec, another former library research student, another former student council member. Welcome. Health teacher extraordinaire Hadi Ansari is joining you here as well.
Oh, awesome. Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for joining us. Hadi was just about to give us his underrated, but before we do that, we're just going to jump around. This is just so this will give Hadi some more time to think. So welcome. You want to tell us just a little bit about yourself, and then we'll give you our question on who your favorite teacher of all time was.
Oh gosh, a little bit about myself. Like you said, Annie Hajec, Carlson alum, 2013. I spent an extra 4 years there coaching cheerleading. I got to coach Chloe as well. That was my little revenge from having you as a track coach, of course.
True.
And then, and then now I am in Nashville, Tennessee, finishing up my doctorate of physical therapy, and I graduate in May.
All right. Excellent.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yes. State champion cheerleader and coach, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Multiple rings. So with that, this episode, we've been asking everybody all throughout their years of schooling, who's that one teacher, or Hadi had a whole list, so don't feel like, but who is, when it comes time to like favorite teacher, who do you got?
Gosh, I agree with Hadi. There were so many great teachers, especially at Carlson and in my time in college. But I should say two that stick out because it is a buy one, get one. When you mention one of them, you have to mention the other. It is Miss Found and Miss Bechtel.
No.
Oh,
Newly retired.
Newly retired.
I knew when you said when you get one, you get the other, where you were going with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm a science major through and through, but I took every single one of their business classes in high school. And if I was not doing physical therapy, that's what I'd be doing, is like marketing or business. I absolutely loved it. They put a great passion in for it and made it so applicable to modern day life, especially when you're in high school. Like none of, the marketing, the advertising, it just made you think like why you had product placement in different commercials, TV shows, you name it. They made it relative to current day, which is pretty hard to do for a bunch of high school students. And all the presentations and the Word, Microsoft, all those classes, they still come in handy 10 years later.
Awesome.
And they were just great people. Great people, all kids.
Great people.
BPA sponsors, they were class sponsors, they were student council advisors way back before I was.
They were my class's advisors as well. So I got to build that relationship with them.
Yeah, and just the way it treated people with kindness and respect, and that goes with but also taught responsibility and weren't afraid to put people in their place if they had to.
Absolutely.
So
it's
a fine line. So so with that, this week as well is overrated, underrated. There's anything you want, any topic you want, any sort of thing. Hadi just gave his overrated, right, which is modern gaming, modern video gaming, overrated. He's getting a little think time for his underrated.
Yeah.
Can you give us an overrated that you want to give us?
Yeah, it's PG because there's a lot of other ones that could definitely be done.
Family friendly,
of course. As we transition seasons of holiday flavors, my overrated, we're finally leaving, is pumpkin spice season, and we are going to enter peppermint season, which is underrated.
So you got them one swoop there. I like that. You're really good. You're a great guest. From one side, I agree. I'm not a big pumpkin spice guy, and I would actually prefer, in a weird way, I'd almost prefer spearmint, but I'll take the peppermint too in the way there. So
the peppermint milkshake at Chick-fil-A just came out this week. It was delicious. I had one last night with my Chick-fil-A dinner. No free ads. You can't beat peppermint season, and your breath smells great after eating it.
That's fair.
True. All right, Hadi, pressure's on now. Do you have your underrated?
I'm ready. You're going to hate me for this one. And I know Givo is for sure. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't care about the hate comments. I'm going to go ahead and say Detroit sports.
Underrated.
Now, look, okay, I understand we lose all the time. Okay. We went from a winning decade to a losing one. I will say it stinks, but I enjoy being a fan of these teams because I know eventually there's going to be a good outcome. Eventually. I don't know if it's next year, 2 years, 10 years. Eventually we'll get it.
Yeah, the Lions are like right there. They've been 1 year away for like the last 30 some odd years.
Minus 15, Matt Patricia, right? Minus 15. Two in a row.
Okay.
I will give you this as far as, and I speak for what's nice about being a Detroit sports fan in this era compared to when we were younger, is everyone is core right down in the same area, downtown, within back in the day when I had season tickets, I'd have to go to Pontiac for the Lions and then Auburn Hills they have a nice setup down there for current Detroit sports fans. You can see it all within, really, on nice days, walking distance.
What do you think, Givo?
I mean, I don't know how that really relates to the teams, though. Yeah, it's nice that we don't have to drive.
Well, I mean, what's it like in Nashville? Is the football stadium like a little bit further out, or how's it?
Well, they're going to be building a new one day. It's like going to be $2.9 billion whenever they approve of that and who's paying for it. But Bridgestone's like on Fifth Avenue, and then 5 blocks over is the river, and then you have to go across the river. There's a pedestrian bridge to the stadium. Like you can see them, but I mean, it'd probably be a little bit further apart than like Comerica and Ford Field. And then, I mean, at that point, you have no professional baseball. So the closest team is Atlanta. We do have the Nashville Sounds, and then we do have the soccer stadium as well. That's like further out of town. And then basketball wise, it'd be the Memphis Grizzlies or the Atlanta Hawks. I think those are the 2 closest. So Nashville's a big transplant city, as you could imagine.
Yeah,
so not everyone's a Titans fan through and through. Not everyone's a Predators fan through and through. So that kind of, I get what Hadi's saying about Detroit sports. It's, you know, it's fun to root for everyone in Detroit's for Detroit versus like down here. I mean, my friend group alone, it's Bears, Lions, Saints, Panthers, Patriots. I mean, we're all over the board.
Okay, well that's cool then, Hadi. I'll grant you that. It's just like the losses have been the
brutal.
Such a letdown this year. So.
Well, we appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedule. I know, you know, school, health teacher of the year, substitute of the month. I mean, teacher of the month. We welcome you. Thank you for being loyal listeners and improving our ratios out of state too. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Big shout out, 1 year. You guys did it. 1 year. Keep it
We
going.
made it.
Can't wait for the next 20.
All right, man. Thank you very much, sir. We'll see you. Happy holidays.
Guys.
Now we have a member of our staff.
Yes, one more. I think we'll get one more in here. I mean, we're record time here. This is our creative art director.
Yes.
Our logo director joining us now. Hopefully she gets this to work. She's a computer expert. So there we go. Miss Erin Torres, welcome to Pass the Mic. We just had Mr. Hadi, who is Health Teacher of the Year in Michigan. I'm declaring that, so don't let Mr. Earl know that. And Ann Hajec from down in Nashville. Not our furthest listener today would be Mr. Bailey, though. Am I getting my geography right? Because
I would think so.
Earlier.
South Carolina.
Yes, South Carolina is further south than Tennessee. So, so welcome. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself? We've talked about you on the show, but you are our logo designer, of course, but also a fellow coworker.
Yes. I teach at Carlson. I teach science and computer science. You guys did, in fact, have me do your logo. So I'm your technology design department, I like to say. One of the few recipients of a mug. So I do have the Pass the Mic mug.
The only compensation. So make that clear to Mr. Rice.
The only compensation. And former Carlson grad. So
all right, excellent. So welcome. Everyone today has had the same questions. So we're going to put it right out to you. Favorite teacher of all time. Some people have not been able to list just one. The Baileys, the rule followers, did list one. The Ren Dawg listed just one, but other people, Hadi, sort of threw a bunch out there. So feel free what you want. Favorite teachers of all time.
Oh, favorite teachers of all time. You know, this is difficult because it has changed since I have become a teacher. Once I get to know a lot of my teachers, things have changed because my relationship with them has changed. I would have to say my favorite teacher of all time was Mrs. Small back at Hunter.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Was that fourth grade? Was she fourth grade then, or?
I want to say fourth grade. Yeah.
Yeah. Because not to date myself, she was there when I went to Hunter too. So I thought that's what she taught. So, but it was very early in her career, I'm sure, compared to when you had her.
Yeah.
All right. So overrated, underrated this week is wide open. Anything you want. We are not listing the topic. Previous Max Bailey kept his at Washington Monuments.
And Aaron, if you can bash the show if you'd like. You can overrate, underrate the show if you'd like.
Overrated, underrated guests. Again, wide open. Anything that you want to say is that is overrated or underrated.
That is so wide open that it makes it incredibly difficult. Can I say that my overrated is not being specific in anything?
That's fine. That's totally fine. I mean, Ann Hajec did a great job.
I don't know how that's overrated, but
lumped it up in one statement. Overrated was pumpkin spice. Underrated is peppermint. Right at the coffee shop.
I mean, I would agree with that overrated is in fact pumpkin spice, Mr. Giraffe.
Haters everywhere.
The Pates aren't going to be happy either with that.
Nope.
But
I would agree with Annie.
all right. Okay. Well, there you go. That's totally fine. We want to thank you again for designing our logo. The mugs look great. We did you a mug. Someone commented we do need to do another round of mugs. So
I saw that actually, and my mug sits right on my desk every single day. I get comments on it. The kids comment on it.
So maybe that's something we'll have to do. Maybe for the holiday season, we'll have to dip into our own pockets, Mr. Rice, and run another round of mugs and raffle them off to some loyal listeners.
I have actually been considering updating your guys' logo. I don't know if I've told you this, but I have some changes I think I'm going to make.
Oh,
so.
okay.
What are we willing to
change it? You got to change it up a little bit. Maybe we do a holiday.
Yeah, or like maybe the characters. Maybe do we go into the characters of us? Can you do that?
Oh man.
Oh, I can absolutely do that.
That'll be cool.
All right. Well, we'll see.
We can make that happen.
All right. Well, excellent. Well, hey, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you, and we look forward to a special holiday logo, maybe.
All right, we will work on it. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye, Erin.
Right, see ya.
See ya.
Well,
all right. Well, what an episode, man. We're going on 6:56. We made it to about an hour. We're not going to give overrated, underrated, but we did say we would give our teachers that were our favorites.
Yep.
Very back in the first episode, one of the first episodes, we talked about teachers that influenced us to get into education. We said this is a little different from that, right? We said these are, I remember mentioning Mike Clementi as someone that, and not saying that he wasn't a favorite of mine, but that was what sort of pushed me into education. But as far as favorites, I'm going to go from one extreme to the other. I had Miss Weidman for kindergarten. I can still remember that all these years later. Excellent teacher at Hunter Elementary. I still remember learning my letters through her and the stuff like that. Just the typical image of what a kindergarten teacher should be back in the days when kindergarten was what it should be.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, because of third grade reading laws and standards, kindergarten is not as much of a social introduction to school. You now almost have to be in preschool because kindergarten's not what it used to be. But back in those days, back in our days when kindergarten was fun, you look forward to it. Then you got hit with a wall like first grade, like what's this? What are we doing? But eventually, you got to get to that. And then when I got to high school, he's a Carlson High School Hall of Famer. Mr. Dave Baker was my gym teacher at Carlson. Awesome guy. We inducted him to the Hall of Fame a few years ago. Just what I always liked about Dave was that, the stereotypical gym teacher sometimes, and none of ours are like this now, but it would just play basketball, whatever. He was always, teaching different sports, literally, and we didn't have to have health back then. So it was just straight PE, right? There was no health semester. No. So as much as we groaned about it, there'd be swimming units, there'd be floor hockey, there'd be gymnastics, flag football, basketball, just all kinds of different things that he would make it fun and exciting, and great guy, well-deserved honor to be in our Carlson High School Hall of Fame. So those are my two. Who do you got?
I'm going to go two as well. My sixth grade teacher, Mrs. Caston, I was definitely afraid of her because down the hall when in my younger grades, you could always hear her yelling at kids, and I was afraid to go into that class. And as it turns out, she was just amazing. And at the end of my sixth grade year, I needed to be told I was kind of acting like a jerk. And she told me, and it was, she said, it's not who you are. You need to know this. And it stuck with me. I remember the conversation we had out in the hall. And it really, really was something I needed to hear. I think too often right now we try to, I'm not one of these people that says that, we're soft or anything like that, but I do think we do tend to dance around things that kids need to hear. And I needed to hear it. And that it made me better. And it stuck with me to this day. I can remember how I felt out there, what I was feeling, like what everything, my emotions, so forth and so on. So that's my number one. My number two is I had a lot of good teachers in high school, but I had a phys ed teacher named Mr. Monroe, and it was just the idea that he cared about me, and there was like how are you doing? And it was more than just the standard. I wasn't just a number. He asked me about my family, and so I'll never forget that. It was something I needed at the time as well. So those are my two.
Excellent. And that is just a tip to any young teachers out there. That's a little thing you can do, and you never know whose life you may turn on. You can't it's hard to do it with 100 kids or whatever. But if there's someone, again, just even if it's a little bit of information, a little bit of things, you'd be shocked at the relationships that can build and bring. So that's going to bring us here towards the end. Do you have a hot mic? Or are we just going to leave it with the teachers?
You know what? I'm going to leave it. I mean, you're more.
Let's just leave it. It's a
to.
pretty. We're at an hour. We can say that. We're going to have an episode next week. We can do an episode next. We'll have our normal episode next week. As a matter of fact, we're going to wrap it up here with one last guest. I'm going to squeeze one last. This just breaking news, so we won't do a hot mic because we're going to bring in our. What a good way to round things out. We're going to bring in our very first guest.
Our first guest, the most popular episode we've had.
Yeah, if I look at the data. Our administrators would love this. That I look at the data.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap up this episode with our very first guest on this special 1-year episode, Miss Evie Cramton, our most listened to episode still to this day. Sorry, Hadi. If I go look at I think you're still number one. I
believe it.
Fresh off your travels from Amsterdam.
Oh yes.
World traveler. So my co-coach with cross country. Welcome to Pass the Mic, the 1-year anniversary episode, which is neither 1 year of full calendar or full episodes, but we take creative liberties with.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys have earned the right to take creative liberties.
Well, excellent. Thank you. So,
you're closing the show. Evie's closing us out,
the show,
right?
so no pressure. So we want to know the questions we've been asking our guests. First question: favorite teacher or teachers of all time. Who do you got for us and why?
Okay. I'm gonna go school by school, and I'm gonna go into the other room real quick because there's some noise. Okay, so I went to Chapman Elementary School, and my favorite teacher at Chapman was my second grade teacher. Her name was Mrs. Coble. And it was actually a surreal experience. It was either last year or the year prior. I had her grandson in my class, which was really, really cool for me. But Mrs. Coble is special to like me and my family for a lot of reasons. She actually taught my mom and aunt. She was previously a nun at St. Mary's.
Oh.
Yeah. But I just remember being in her class and her making me really love learning in a way that I hadn't at that point. You're still young, but she was just so caring and so encouraging. Just a really sweet woman, kind of like a grandmother figure in a super positive way. If I have to fast forward to shoemate, shoemate's tough because I feel like it's kind of a blur. But there was one teacher who really stuck out to me that I think about often. Her name's Mrs. Watson. She was my 8th grade science teacher, and she was so incredibly passionate about what she was teaching. She, I remember, one of the things that stuck with me was she always had these things called bonus stars, and she would pass them out liberally. So whenever we'd be taking a test and we'd be grading it, if she thought that you went above and beyond, she'd give you a bonus star, and she'd be like, bonus star, bonus star. Like she was a game show host. But she really got me interested in the sciences, which was if I could, or if I wanted to get certified in another subject, it would definitely be like chemistry or biology, maybe anatomy.
Nice.
But yeah, she was super passionate about what she did. High school, so many great teachers. I could probably go subject by subject. So my favorite math teacher at Carlson is actually one of my best friends to this day, just because she was my role model, Katie LeBrun.
Awesome.
Yeah, she is just so intelligent and really is somebody who inspired me to become a teacher and to be a coach and to kind of follow in her footsteps. I remember I wrote one of my college admission essays on her, like who's your role model. So it's really cool because she is one of my best friends to this day.
Sorry, Evie, I didn't mean to laugh. Nate Dogg just made an appearance.
Yeah, just popped in the corner. Yeah, one of your cross country runners. So sorry
if you ask Nate Dogg who his favorite coach was, I think he might.
Yeah, I think we'll have to have him on for that episode. So
yes, we'll see what he has to say. Most improved this year in cross country, actually.
There you go, little shout out. Look at, he made the anniversary show. He doesn't even know it.
Yeah. Good work, Nate. He's the sleeper on the team who shows up when he wants to after 3 cheeseburgers. But yeah, my favorite social studies teacher is Jeff. because everyone's so wonderful, but I'd have to say your own Michael Gervasi. I had you for only one semester. We talk about this often. I think it was my freshman year, and you've told me I was in one of your worst classes that you can recall. But you're another one who, and like, if I were to model my teaching on anyone, it would be you, just because you are so.
Evie, you're gonna make me blow. You could.
Well, it's an
Thank
audio.
you.
It's an
Thank
audio episode, so it's okay if you blush.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, you can blush as much as you need.
Well, it is video too. This will be on YouTube. So sorry.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So, but yeah, just you put so much depth of thought into everything you do. You really encourage kids to really think about what they're learning and to explore topics that otherwise they wouldn't learn. So you're definitely my favorite.
ELA, ELA. Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
You're welcome. ELA. Okay, I feel like our English department's really strong. One of my teachers that I just really loved being in her class was Miss Sandra Straw. If you guys remember her, she was another character.
Great yearbook advisor too.
Yeah, she was just a go-getter. She had a really interesting life story. I don't know how much of it is true, but I believe she had her pilot's license.
I've heard that.
She had been married 3 to 4 times, and 3 of them had died suddenly. And I don't know, this might be fake news, but I remember she made Lord of the Flies so interesting. Just the way she presented it. And she did definitely make me start to look a little bit deeper, because I've always loved reading, but look a little bit deeper into imagery. And she was just a hoot to have. She was a teacher who made us read out loud, which was fun for some and not for others, but I did appreciate that. Science teachers, that's tough. I'm gonna give a shout out to Rob Raymond on this one, because he was my AP bio teacher, and because of his teaching and some miracle, I scored really well on that AP bio exam, and I was able to not have to take that in college. He's another just incredibly bright human being who we're fortunate to have on our staff.
For sure.
So, I mean, those are the cores. It's hard to say. I really appreciated every teacher I had at Carlson. There weren't too many, I would say.
And that's what we've heard a lot. A lot of names came out today, and that I had the luxury of coming back. You've had the luxury of coming back. It's a nice feeling. Erin, our guest that was on right before you joined us, sort of in the same boat. And a lot of people have done that. Crystal Fowler, a lot of us come back. Dawn Wynn. There's a lot of us all through the years that have done that. And I think it says a lot about the people that have been here, that people that are here now, because Lord knows, like we said, the whole episode that you were on with us was getting people to come into this profession, and maybe that's how we're able to do it, is make people feel welcome. So
I will say the best part about our school is definitely the staff. I don't think that compare. I mean, there's other schools that might have better facilities, offer better classes, but I don't think anyone can compare, because you can tell, like you said, I mean, that's kind of a testament to Gibraltar public education. And I know at the high school, what did we say? There were 6 people who were former students.
Yep.
That I know. Even beyond that, like at the middle school, I know Jade is there.
Yep.
At the elementary school, I know 2 other classmates of mine, Elise Maslin. I think Stephanie Camilleri is now in Gibraltar as well.
And we just hired another one this year, Brandon Cornett, who's at Parsons. I believe Parsons.
Awesome.
Yeah, he came back, former student council member. So it's definitely a good thing. And we always seem to have each other's backs when things go wrong. And that's definitely a good thing. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you for that first guest appearance. We appreciate you coming back tonight on our 1-year anniversary and being a part of this. You're a great guest and a great coworker, and a great coach too. So
thank you. I know next year we're going to States.
Well, yeah, we going to States. All right. Well, thank you very much, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Evie.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
All right, we'll see you. Wow,
Really?
what a great episode! I'm going to give Mike all the credit in the world for this. This was his design. We always do a lot of show. He came to me with this a couple of weeks ago. I said we can't put this together in 1 week, so we put it out there, and we had some fears of what a disaster it could be. I think it was a great episode. A little long, so maybe some people may feel it went long, but whatever. I think it was great to see some of the faces with the names we have, and we still have a lot of people we couldn't put on that didn't pop in. So this is something maybe we have to do this like every 6 months or something.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So we will be back. We got a short week next week. We can get in the studio one day next week, right? Like Monday or Tuesday, probably. Yep. Because we need a Black Friday episode. So when everyone's waiting in line to get like
they gotta listen to
a Blu-ray player or a Furby, they can
tickle me listening to some of the other.
They can listen to Pass the Mic while they're throwing elbows and picking up a toaster oven on Friday. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us for a year, and we'll say Happy Thanksgiving again, but we'll say it again next week. No, because it'll be Friday. So we got to say it now. Happy
Thanksgiving.
Yes. Happy Thanksgiving. All right. Excellent.